Bracing for protests. Fears of violence as Egypt's Muslim Brotherhood calls for Day of Martyrs March. Fighting back. AMISOM troops rebuff Al-Shabaab attack on Kismayu Airport. And picking up the pieces. Liberia struggled to rise from the ashes 10 years after a bloody civil war. Hello and welcome to Africa Live on CCTV News with me, Beatrice Marshall, in Nairobi. Also coming up in the next 30 minutes. South Africa's construction workers are to go on strike from Monday as unions dig in their heels. And glory on the track. Kenya's Eunice Soom asserts her dominance of the 800 meters race at the Stockholm Diamond League meet. Egypt is bracing for further unrest this Friday, with supporters of deposed President Mohamed Morsi calling for mass protests against the army's takeover. Now, this is being seen as a test of the Muslim Brotherhood's ability to bring out the crowds, with many of its leaders now behind bars. At least 900 people have been killed in a crackdown on pro-Morsi demonstrators over the past week. Egyptians are enduring the bloodiest crisis of their modern history after the military overthrew Morsi on July the 3rd, following demonstrations against his rule. Pro-Morsi protests have fizzled out over the past week. The muted reaction to the release of another former president, Hosni Mubarak, Thursday, highlighted the growing power shift in favor of the military he once commanded. Brotherhood supporters have nevertheless called on Egyptians to hold marches on the weekly Muslim prayer day of Friday, billed as a Friday of Martyrs against the army takeover. Meanwhile, Egypt's former president Hosni Mubarak is now at a military hospital after he was released from jail. The 85-year-old is on trial for complicity in killing protesters and corruption charges. But a court earlier this week ordered his release on bail. CCTV's Adel Mahroui tells us more.
The medical helicopter that carried Hosni Mubarak from Cairo's Tora prison arrived to a military hospital. He's been held for more than 2 years, the maximum time for pre-trial detention. There's been fears his release could further stoke tensions. But analysts say the reaction so far has been surprising.
It seems coherent with the political circumstances in Egypt. Political powers are in a dilemma. They see that if they object to Mubarak's release, they would be objecting on the legal matters that are guiding the transition, therefore objecting to the transition as well.
We spoke to people on the street. Many were pleased with his release.
Releasing Mubarak is the best thing they did, because what use is it keeping him in prison? After all, he was a leader of a big country and a leader of the Arab world.
His release would not cause instability, because we respect law and justice. We are not against anyone. He once was a representative for Egypt, so we never meant to insult him.
They say they're releasing him because there isn't enough evidence. The biggest evidence that is there is the ignorance and poverty that we're living in.
Due to the current state of emergency and curfew, the interim prime minister has ordered that Mubarak be kept under house arrest. But that could be lifted once the emergency law is over. Mubarak will only be allowed out to attend his trial or when the house arrest is over. But in either case, the prosecutor general has prohibited him from leaving Egypt. Adel Mahroui, CCTV, Cairo.
Well, CCTV's Adel Mahroui standing by live in Cairo for us. He joins us live there. Adel, let's start off first with that Friday of Martyrs. They are called by the Muslim Brotherhood. They have called for a Friday of Martyrs. What's the latest on that?
They're planning massive rallies in Cairo. This comes as they marked the Friday prayers on today, and they're also marking the August 30, which will be also a Friday with massive big protests on their deadline. They're trying to move in an approach similar to the rebellion campaign, which on June 30th launched their rallies against President Mohamed Morsi. So they're doing the same, but this time on August 30, that's their biggest rallies. Today there are 28 rallies in 28 locations after the Friday prayers in Cairo, and it comes only part of what is happening all over the country. In Upper Egypt, where most of the tension is expected, they have been calling it several names, including the Friday of Revenge and Friday of Destruction, trying to repeal. Security forces are maintaining a tight, secure on main areas in Cairo and other governorships as well. They have blocked Tahrir Square today after opening it for traffic in the past few days. Today it's once again blocked, trying to prevent Morsi protesters from rallying there or from setting up new camps. This comes while the Muslim Brotherhood also insists that they're leading with peaceful protests.
All right, Adel, the Muslim Brotherhood is also accusing the army of trying to revive the old government. What's been the reaction, though, to the release there from jail of former President Hosni Mubarak? Is that reaction still subdued? All right, CCTV's Adel Mahroui, it seems we're having a technical challenge there. We will be returning to that story on Egypt throughout the day today. But let's move now to the Democratic Republic of Congo, where the head of the UN mission there has ordered peacekeeping troops to protect civilians after the city of Goma was shelled in renewed fighting between the army and the M23 rebels on Thursday. Now, MONUSCO's head said populated areas and UN positions were attacked during the clashes. Officials at a local hospital reported 2 children and another civilian killed in the explosion, with four others wounded. The fighting comes after a relative lull in the 18-month rebellion. Now, late last month, the UN pledged to keep the M23 rebels out of range of the town, which they briefly seized last year, with the new security zone established by the recently deployed Intervention Brigade. But a senior UN official claimed the rebels managed to breach that. Now, the M23 rejected accusations they were behind Thursday's shelling, saying it was done by Congolese soldiers in an attempt to draw peacekeepers and neighboring Rwandan troops into the fight. So far, peace talks in the Ugandan capital, Kampala, have made a little headway in ending the protracted conflict. Let's get more on the renewed fighting in eastern DR Congo. I'm now joined by Lieutenant Colonel Felix Prosper Basse, the peacekeeping mission MONUSCO's military spokesperson. He joins us there on the line from Goma. Lieutenant Colonel Basse, thank you. Now, more fighting after a recent lull. Can you describe what is happening on the ground where you are and how MONUSCO will protect civilians in and around Goma?
Yes, thank you for calling. Yes, I am the military spokesperson for MONUSCO. And just to say that firefight resumed yesterday around 5 o'clock in the morning between M23 and FARDC in the region of Kibati. Because as you know, some firefight took place from the 14th July up to the 17th July between the two parties. And FARDC had managed to push back M23 up to Kibati Triple Tower, where they had a stronghold. So firefight resumed yesterday, and it was very intense for the whole day. And artillery, mortar, multiple rocket launchers, and tanks were used all day long. So, but FARDC managed to hold their position and even gain some ground towards Kibati Triple Tower. So what happened is around 1400 hours, M23 had fired a rocket, a mortar bomb that landed south of Munigi, the village of Munigi, killing 2 people and injuring 7. So this was, a breach to our mandate, which is the protection of civilians, and we did put in place a protection zone in order to keep Goma and its surroundings safe. So this is what happened yesterday, and MONUSCO, yes?
Well, you're talking about M23 there having fired rocket fire there in that area of Manuji, but M23 has rejected the accusations it is behind the attack and is instead pointing the finger at the Congolese soldiers. What's the clearer situation on this?
Say again, I don't hear you very well. Can you talk loudly?
Well, the M23 has rejected the assertions that it was behind that attack, and it says it is actually the Congolese soldiers there. What's the clearer situation from your end?
Yes, you know, this is completely false because we were on the ground and M23 had fired the rocket that landed south of Munigi because we were on the heights of Munigi. It couldn't be FARDC, the Congolese army. And the rocket, the mortar bomb landed in south of our position, south of Munigi village, killing 2 people and injuring 7.
All right, Lieutenant Colonel Felix Prosper Basse, the peacekeeping mission MONUSCO's military spokesperson, joining us there on the line from Goma. We'll take a short break here on Africa Live, but still ahead on the program. Fighting back, AMISOM troops rebuff Al-Shabaab attack on Kismayu Airport. And picking up the pieces, Liberia struggled to rise from the ashes 10 years after a bloody civil war.
She is the first woman chairing SADC.
I think for me, it's a privilege and honor.
She's working hard to retrieve the economy of her country.
I want Malawi to move very quickly from aid to trade.
And she's facing an election next year.
If that costs me the elections, then that's fine.
This week, Talk Africa speaks with President Joyce Banda from the warm heart of Africa.
Welcome back to Africa Live. At least 7 Al-Shabaab militants were killed and their vehicle destroyed on Thursday. And this followed their attempt to attack the African Union mission in Somali camp at Kismayu International Airport in southern Somalia. Now, another attack in Mogadishu by gunmen also left 3 civilians dead and 1 female Swedish politician seriously injured. Maria Galang has the details.
AMISOM troops thwarted the attack by the Al-Qaeda-linked fighters, which began at 8:15 p.m. local time, forcing the attackers to retreat. They returned at 3:30 a.m. but were again met by AMISOM forces before they fled from the vehicle.
We found the vehicle that the Al-Shabaab had used to come and attack us. They were actually on the route out when we hit them last night, and that's where we found the vehicle, in the middle of the road, hit by mortar and artillery shrapnel.
The stolen NGO vehicle, medical equipment, several military uniforms, blood-stained scarves, bedsheets and a blanket were recovered from the scene. Kismayu International Airport was liberated from the Islamist extremist group Al-Shabaab in October last year by AMISOM troops in support of Somali National Forces.
Such a vehicle can carry about 20 to 30 personnel. At the scene we found a lot of combat uniforms soaked in blood, plus water bottles soaked in blood, and there were drag marks.
Meanwhile, in the capital Mogadishu, gunmen killed 2 Somalis, wounded a Swedish female politician and killed a Swedish man in Mogadishu on Wednesday when they opened fire on their car in the latest attack in the troubled city.
In the meeting, we discussed the last incident of yesterday, which was unfortunate as people have been killed. but it led to the arrest of the killers who were involved in the attack on the Swedish woman.
War-ravaged Mogadishu is one of the most dangerous cities in the world, despite the fact that Somalia's al-Qaeda-linked Shabab fighters pulled out of their fixed positions in the capital 2 years ago. Foreigners usually travel in Mogadishu in armored vehicles or with armed escorts. No one has claimed responsibility for the attacks. But Shabab fighters have carried out a series of bombings, attacks and killings aimed at overthrowing the internationally backed government. Maria Galang, CCTV.
The Ugandan military is calling on the African Union to help resume the hunt for Joseph Kony. Now, troops had been searching for the notorious warlord in the Central African Republic, but the coup there has interfered with the search. CCTV's Isabel Nakiria has that report.
It's 4 months since the hunt for Joseph Kony and his Lord's Resistance Army was halted. Uganda had 3,000 troops on his trail in Central African Republic. But they have been confined to their bases since Seleka rebels seized control of the country. The Ugandan army says Kony has taken full advantage.
It's taking rather long before the international community acts, before the international community concludes on its discussions with the Seleka authorities in Bangui. And the LRA, the reports we have now, is that they are killing people again. They are abducting people again.
Kony and his commandos are wanted by the International Criminal Court. He is accused of abducting and killing thousands and forcing children to fight for him. Non-governmental organizations say finding him must be a priority.
I urge all the leaders to kind of like sit on the table and treat the issue of Joseph Kony as one very bad issue, especially the young children who are getting abducted and being brainwashed. This can easily become mercenaries in the future, and it will destabilize the continent of Africa for a while.
American special forces had been helping the Ugandan army in the search. The joint operation is said to have weakened the LRA. The Ugandan army is urging the AU to press Seleka to allow the hunt to resume. It could be a while before Ugandan forces get their way, but Uganda is desperate to bring Joseph Kony in. And with this public plea to the AU, it's signaling it's fast running out of patience. Isabel Nakiria, CCTV, Kampala.
To West Africa now, and Liberia has been marking 10 years since the end of its civil war. The country is set to enjoy strong economic growth in 2013, yet many people are still struggling to eke out a living, and some take desperate measures to survive. This report from CCTV's Kofam Ranger.
Whether it rains or shines, these people must work. This is their life.
We only pray to God because God do everything. God said when there's life, there's hope. So we pray to God, and then He make us to find something to do.
8 out of 10 Liberians live in poverty. And this back-breaking work, crushing rock to feed a building boom, is a way to feed their families.
I don't feel fine doing this job. It's just that I don't have a different job to do. If I don't do this job, my children will not eat. They will not go to school.
Children as young as 12 are part of the labor force here.
I want to go to school, but there is no money, so I want the government to help us.
High school.
I had dropped out of school in 10th grade because there was no money for my fees, so I work here to support myself.
I don't have money.
A foreign rock crushing company had invested here many years back, but was forced to close down during the Civil War. 10 years after the signing of a peace deal that signaled the end of the war, it has become the source of livelihood for tens of young men, women, and children who cannot find work anywhere. They just call it the rock hole. What they make is usually not enough. A bucket of crushed rock can sell for just 32 US cents. Sometimes there are no buyers.
Know what to do.
What can we do? I'm almost giving up. We need someone to sponsor us. We need work.
We need work.
Liberia's economy has grown tremendously in the past 10 years. This year, it is expected to have a growth rate of about 8.9%, according to the African Economic Outlook, thanks to soaring commodity prices. Most Liberians, though, are not seeing the benefits. It's a major challenge to the government. President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf is urging people to build on the peace of the past decade.
Let us remain on course to rebuild our country, to consolidate democratic governance, economic growth, and infrastructure development.
But here at the Rock Hall, it's tough to look forward or to look beyond the next bucket of rocks. Kofam Renje, CCTV, Monrovia, Liberia.
And let's take a quick look now at Africa's business this hour with Rama Nyang. Rama?
Thank you very much, Beatrice. Here's a snapshot of what's coming up in the next couple of minutes.